we're going to start off like normal. Anything that anyone already here needs to mastermind around?
I wanted to ask Jodi if you have a platform or how you how you best get like reviews from your clients. Do you send them a link? Do you just ask them to send you something written and then you kind of use it as you need it?
The best way to do that is to send them a link to your preferred place that you want it to go. And the easier you can make it for them, the more likely they'll do it.
Like rate my agent or something like that?
Really, I mean, I know a lot of people use that. I think that Google is probably the better place because everybody Googles, right? So Google is probably the best place, but then you can also use your Facebook business page. Depends on how much you're using that in your business. Some people will do them in other places. Keep in mind, the more places you have them do it, the less likely they are to do it. So I would pick like your top one or two and send them those links.
Can you copy and paste their review off of somewhere else for them, or once it's one place you can't really access it?
I don't know if you can or not, and I would want their permission to do that.
Yeah. Okay.
It's
Jodi. Have you ever heard of Aaron Lacey?
Not offhand.
He one of the title agents has, but he does a lot of seminars in our marketplace, and he specializes in like network marketing or social media marketing and all that. He went through a whole setting up your Google business and getting your Google reviews from your clients, and then being able to link them directly to your website.
Yeah, Marty Miller might even have a video on how to do that.
Yeah, because you can, but Google, set up your Google business, and that's usually the best because most people feed off of that, as off your whole thing, and then that also helps you with your marketing for when people are searching as well. So they're going to search you through Google, and it's the whole network aspect of that.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. That off the internet works off of SEO, right? Search engine optimization. And so the more places, the more things you do in Google, the better, because everybody Googles before they do anything else.
Yeah. So it's Google My Business. If you don't have a business account set up on Google, I mean, I'd say get it done. That's like priority. Yeah, because Facebook, Instagram, and everything else is connected.
What did you say it was? Google My Business?
Yeah, just Google My Business, and it'll walk you through how to set it up. And I would encourage everyone to do that. Although not right now, not during this.
No, I just wanted to write it down.
Yeah. And that could be a whole nother call, right? But
right.
So, and that's something that we can talk more about on a different mastermind if you'd like to, but because that is a really good thing for you to have set up, because that's where everybody starts their searches, right?
So I had a question or an idea that I'm kind of looking at, because we were talking about different demographics and things that are happening, trying to work even the sphere of influence or targeting, as far as lists, getting names and addresses and phone numbers. Who do you think is the best? There's some organizations, but who do you know, or if you do know?
So your title company is going to be great for getting names. I have access to something that I don't make it public, but I will let you know. There will be a cost involved in getting it, not a financial cost, but it will be an expectation or a challenge or something you'll have to complete. I have the capability of getting you what I am told. So disclaimer here, because we have to be TCPA compliant, right? Are scrubbed numbers. I have access to Realty. Oh shoot, what's it called? I have to type it in. Anyway, where I can
It's
get
Realist, right? Realist?
no,
No?
I can
Okay.
get you names, numbers, phone numbers, and email addresses for a particular area that are supposed to be scrubbed already. Okay. However, I'm not just going to give them out because it's a lot of time for me to do that. So you can email me and let me know that you would like that. I will give you a challenge that you must complete. And then I will be happy to do that for you because you have to be vested in your business if I'm going to give this to you because I pay money to have access to this. Okay. I'm not going to charge anybody. I want it to be a value add, but you have to show me you're invested in your business.
Okay.
Okay.
Can we set up an individual thing with that? Because I have specific, like, my farm, my neighborhood, and I have specific ideas and targets that we discussed with Dan. And so I was going to go out and even try and buy a list, but then I thought, oh wait, that's going to start cutting into my.
Yeah. So if anybody is interested in that, send me an email telling me the area that you want, why you want it, what your plan is. I will respond with a challenge that you must complete. And upon completion, you let me know. And then I will provide that list to you. Sound good?
Yeah.
Yes.
And then can you specifically target? Well, the title can do that for me, but yeah, just as far as the neighborhood that I want to farm or work, and so I can get, because I'm specifically looking for empty nesters and baby boomers, with that's been in a home for.
So I can target an area. So
Mhm.
you're going to need to give me an address and then the like parameters so I can do it that way.
And
And
then
I
I
don't
can
want to get too
have
much.
title target the other stuff,
Yeah.
or
Well, we can talk about it more later. Okay. I don't want to
okay.
go down a rabbit
All
trail
right.
here.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I do have something very specific I want to bring. So, Ernie, what I would say is email me exactly what you need.
Okay.
Then I will give you a challenge and we'll figure it out. And if it's something that I can't do on my system, then we can have you figure out a plan B for the rest of it.
Okay. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay. So we are going to do much the same as we did last week. I am going to tell you a little story. A couple of you might have heard this, and then I am going to have you mastermind around the idea. And then I also have some things that I'm going to share with you when we come back from that. I had the privilege of being on a call yesterday, on a Zoom call with Jason Abrams and Nick Baldwin. Does everybody know who they are?
No.
Jason Abrams is our vice president of industry in Keller Williams. He is actually the one who interviewed all of the agents and compiled the information and wrote this book. Okay. Nick Baldwin is somebody that is famous in the Keller Williams community in helping with command and commanding your conversations and really helping people in their conversion rates. He is very passionate about helping people be successful in their business. Okay. So I was on a call with them yesterday, along with some others. And what Jason did is it was a little bit of a recap of Mega Camp and at a different level. He gave his top 6 ahas, takeaways from interviewing all of the successful agents that he interviewed to put this together. There were 6 things that really stood out to him that we should or should not be doing in our businesses if we really want to flourish. So through this conversation, I'm going to share them with you, but we're going to do something else first, and you'll see how this all makes sense. What was funny was I had already planned this certain thing that we're going to do, and then that conversation yesterday just completely fed into this. So I was like, wow, this is excellent timing. Okay, so I'm going to tell you a story. And the reason is because, and I will just share one of the takeaways that Jason shared. When we lead gen, let me ask you a question first. What do you think of when you think of lead gen?
Meeting people.
Okay.
An appointment.
Okay.
Talking,
Relationships.
networking.
Okay. What else?
Having conversations that lead to an actual lead, like a hot lead.
Okay. When you think of lead gen in general, not now, hear what I'm asking. Not what are you supposed to say, right? When you think of lead gen, how does it make you feel? Be honest.
A bit uncomfortable.
Okay.
Like you have to fabricate conversation starters or maybe call people that you wouldn't normally call.
I love your honesty, Autumn. Thank you. What else?
I think for me, it just references relationships. And I personally don't have an issue with that, or feel like I don't want to be in interaction with those people. It just, to me, it's more natural.
I love
people, just the people that I would come into contact with and meet, and just be more natural with them. So that's
Okay.
for me.
Yeah, that's what I like it. I mean, I like, getting out there, meeting people and finding ways to direct people to my business. However, the conversion, getting into that point in conversion is the next issue.
Okay. That's anyone else have some thoughts around that? What does lead gen make you think of or feel?
It makes me feel a bit uncomfortable, but I remember one time I remember you saying that to see it as a treasure hunt. So every day that I do it now, I think of it as exactly that. I'm on a treasure hunt. I'm gonna find the treasure. So it actually makes me more excited for it, and it makes me want to do it like a lot more than 2 hours.
I love that mindset change.
I'm very comfortable with it, but I do set like a daily target so it doesn't become like a monotonous thing. So I know as I'm getting through it, I can see that I'm getting to the completion of what I goaled for that day. And then I always do a little bit more because I always like to exceed the goal. So it kind of, I handle it almost like, because I grew up playing sports, I handle it almost like a sporting event. And then I want to win the game at the end. So I always add a couple more things.
I love that. Anyone else? We have time for one more comment.
I think for me, it started out as Autumn described as being something very scary, but it's actually starting to evolve into what Michelle said. It's becoming more natural. The other day, I was just at the dry cleaners and just struck up a conversation with the counter person there and got their information.
I love that. Very good. And whatever your answers were, right? There's no right, there's no wrong. We all have certain ways that we feel about this. And notice some of your comments where you felt negatively about it or somewhat negatively. And then a conversation we had a couple weeks ago, I think it was a couple weeks ago, had a big mindset change for some of you. And so that's mindset's important. But here's the thing, that this is one of the takeaways I'll share before we get into what I'm going to have you do, is his second takeaway was do something you love and call it lead gen. We all do way too much and think too hard about what our lead gen should be in our business. And we all think it should be one thing, right? Because we talk a lot about cold calls, or not cold calls. That's bad. That's a bad word in my world. We all think about circle calling, door knocking, all of those things, right? And while they're useful tools, if used properly, that's not what it has to be, right? So one of his takeaways was do something you love and call it lead gen. So I'm going to tell you a story because I have an example of this that actually really happened and I thought it was brilliant. And then I'm going to have you go in breakout rooms and you're going to talk in your groups about something each of you love that you could turn into lead generation. Because remember, it's not work if we love what we're doing, right? You've heard people say, I've never worked a day in my life because I love what I do. That's what each of you need to work and strive for in your business. Okay. So my husband and I, this happened several months ago, could have even been a year ago, but there was a gentleman we were at Barrel House. I don't know if anybody knows what that is. Coastal people might. It's a place here in Visalia. It's a tap room, and they have food trucks once in a while. We were there one evening and watching probably a ball game, and they were getting ready to have this guy up on stage because they have music there from time to time. And he was like a one-man band kind of a thing, where he has some of the stuff on the recording, but then he sings. And so he came around to all of the tables, everybody that was there, and introduced himself, let them know that he was going to be singing. And here's a list of a lot of the songs that he does. And if anyone had a request, please be sure and let him know. But before he walked away, he turned the page and he said, I also wanted to let you know that I'm a realtor. And, so I'd love to chat with you if you are in need of any services. I forget exactly what he said, but basically, and he gave us his information. So it was stapled to his set list, basically, or his things that he could do. So here's something that he does. He loves to perform. He performs in local places, and he turned that into a lead gen thing. And he didn't lead with, hey, I'm a realtor. He led with what he was doing there that night. And oh, by the way, and I watched, because when he came up to me, you can imagine how I felt about that, right? And so I congratulated him for that. And I let him know who I was and what I did, and that I thought that was phenomenal. And I intentionally at that point started watching people's reactions to him, because, everybody's afraid to bug, right? I started watching people's reactions. No one had a negative reaction, and everyone had really pleasant interactions. And so he even called my name out from stage at one point and said who I was and where I was with. So I even got free promo. That's not the point though, right? He was doing something completely unrelated to real estate and turned it into lead gen. And if he had been doing bold at that time, he would have done his 20 contacts in that one day or more just from that. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into breakout rooms like we did last week. I'm going to break you up into small groups. I'm going to give you about 10-ish minutes. So you're going to have about maybe 2-3 minutes per person. And I want you to think, first of all, what's something that you love? And then mastermind in your small groups, how can you turn that into lead gen? Okay. Just like last week, we're going to have one captain that's going to come back and share what your group talked about. Okay. And then we're going to, as a group, we're going to plus those conversations and help you formulate a plan for that. And then I'm going to make sure there's a few minutes at the end so I can share Jason's takeaways that will even help you enhance that thinking. Okay. I'm just going to let it assign everybody automatically. So here you go. 10 minutes. I'll give you about a minute warning before I call you back. All righty, here we are. So did you guys all come up with something?
Yep.
So group one had Ernie, Michelle, Sebastian, and I thought I had one more person, but did they disappear? Who's our
Danielle, Sebastian, Michelle, and myself. There's 4.
Okay, so who is the fourth one?
We had Daniela, Sebastian, Michelle, and myself.
Okay, Danny must have dropped off. Okay, so you guys have about 2 minutes to share with the group. What did you guys come up with that would be fun?
So I'll start. I have a baseball background, and that's always been a passion of mine. So I was thinking about doing a baseball camp, and having some of the lenders and the mortgage people come in and help me fund that, and doing a baseball camp. And because it's a no-brainer, they fill out their application for it and everything else, and you get your database there. And then also I have a Volkswagen bus, so I was going to start going to car shows, start putting up flyers there. And then Sebastian played soccer through high school, and he's thinking about was thinking about signing up for a team with the and in the, not just that, but the Latin group or his Spanish group, I mean Mexican speaking group, and then so it's the same thing. I said you could do a AYSO camp or something like that and sponsor it and have like I said, we don't have to come out of pocket. We got other people that will pay for it, title companies and mortgage companies and things like that. And then Michelle, I don't know how I'm saying if I'm saying that right. Or Michelle. Let's see, I mixed them up. Michelle's doing dog boarding. We're just going to start doing dog walking. And so we talked about dog posts and setting up who like what I babysitting and getting people that way with through their dogs. And then I caught Daniela is a Brazilian group, right, Daniela?
Oh, she made it back.
Yes.
Yes. So she's joined a couple Facebook and Brazilian groups and talked about getting on MLS and finding houses with big yards that you could host carnival in, and sharing that and things like getting involved in that stuff in the community with her Brazilian community.
Okay. Nice. So group 2, and we're gonna talk about, I'm writing some key things down, and when I share some other things from Jason, that's gonna help plus these ideas. But I love how this is going. Okay. Fabi, Janae, Mariana, Ross, who's your spokesperson? You have 2 minutes to share. Mariana, go ahead.
All right. So, Janae, she is a coach for soccer and basketball too. I believe that's what you said, right? Basketball. So she naturally is starting to, implement speaking to the parents and talking to them about real estate as well. So that's really cool. At first she was shy and, she was able to break out of her comfort zone, and now she's talking more to people naturally. So she's liking that. Fabi, so he actually works out a lot at the gym. So he has conversations that he started there, which is awesome. We suggested that maybe he start implementing like a Keller Williams shirt or some swag or something to start conversations more easily or easier for him. So he is thinking about that, and just as I showed them, I'll show you guys. I have my own Keller Williams workout pants that I got at Mega Camp. So I use those at the gym myself too. So they are great conversation starters. Even just the name tag, like Ross mentioned, he wears his all the time. He does get asked often too, like about real estate because of that. And then Ross, he is usually very open to talking to people. So he knows he has this ability where he can naturally read people and see where the conversation, where in that conversation he can lead into speaking about real estate and kind of getting that in there, right? And then for myself, I implement a lot of networking. So I do a lot of networking events. And then because I do have a second business, I try to tie in both of those together. I do have my business card now that has both of my businesses on there. So it comes very handy to them to know that I do both of those. So great conversation starters.
Okay, nice. Charles, Meldrin, Rick, Simona, who's your spokesperson? What'd you come up with?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and go for us. And
Okay.
first and foremost, Charles likes to work out as well. So again, the idea of wearing the t-shirts in the gym and being able to strike up conversations, that would be a natural progression from that. With regards to Rick actually plays the drums. And so what he has done for himself is that when he makes a mistake on drums, that's when he gets on the phone and makes a call for lead gen. And according to Rick, he messes up a lot, so therefore he gets to make a lot of calls.
Be a lot of calls going.
So Simona actually works at a hospital, so therefore she actually connects with her coworkers, with other nurses, things of that nature, as well as combination with me, actually spending a lot of time in supermarkets and being able to strike up those conversations there. And also, like Charles, I spend a lot of time at the gym, even though I didn't necessarily show. Spend a lot of time in the gym and have the opportunity to catch up with people there.
Awesome. Thank you. And our last group, Autumn, Maria, Salome, and Val. Who's your spokesperson? What'd you come up with?
Well, it seemed like all of us were kind of already implementing a few of these things. Maria is in a women's in a women's group. And I was telling her that I think a lot of areas have these women's group, which I think it's awesome that she joined, and she's actually gotten a lead out of it. So they go to lunch and dinners and kind of talk. They're all from different industries and kind of refer back and forth business. From whoever is a representative in that industry in this group, which is amazing. And Valerie is in an investment group that she's been meeting with over the last, I think it's a real estate investment group over the last 2 years. And same thing, she said she's actually gotten most of her referrals out of this investment group. And I was telling the group that I substitute coach at a local women's gym just here and there. And that's where I normally do most of my networking and where my first transaction has come from as well. And Salome was just saying the same thing. She goes to the gym and to church, and that's where she's finding a lot of networking opportunities or reach outs that she's making connections with.
Okay, nice. So all of you come up with things that you're doing or you could improve in doing, right? What I'm going to do now, before we talk more about it, is I want to share what Jason shared. And then I want to hear from you how you can turn what you're already doing or what you've talked about, how you can plus that, right? Because there's ways that you can use these things. So it's not just about being part of a networking group. It's about doing things that we really love and enjoy and turning those into business. Okay. And I have a couple things I'll share with you in that. So his first big takeaway was everyone should be doing a geographic farm. Everyone. And this is new thinking to talk to newer agents about. Not new thinking, but farms typically take longer to get things going. But we're not talking about just walking a farm and dropping things at the door, right? Or just door knocking and meeting people. We are talking about upping this game exponentially. So a geographic farm has a great ROI. It's a long game, right? So this is something starting now as your business progresses is really going to help. But there's two things. So one of these two things must apply for the farm that you choose to work. One, you must be passionate about it. So is it an area that you love, that you'd like to be more involved in, that you'd like to live in, that you just are really passionate about? Okay. Number two, the area you personally live in. Okay. And so and then you have to become totally immersive into your farm. That means you shop there, you eat there, you hang out there, you do things within your farm. Having quarterly parties in your own front yard, if it's the farm that you live in, block parties, farm parties, but be intentional. So you can start small, and it doesn't have to be a farm of 500, right? You can start out with 20 or 50 houses and intentionally go from there. One of the things that he shared, and I can share this with you in the playbook, is there is an agent in Arizona who created a farming system, and basically it starts with having a route, getting to know people better, running it every day, getting into that flow, right? And then planting seeds consistently over time is what builds your business. This we know, right? So what he does, there are 9 things that he does for this. And number 1 is he says, start a newsletter targeted to the specific area. Add value to that relationship with the market knowledge, community information, feature businesses, coupons for those businesses. Have handouts of your newsletter in the business that are in the community, in the businesses that are in the community. Wear your uniform. Some of you talked about that. Have your KW shirts on, hats, whatever it is that you're doing. Make sure that people see who you are, right? Have drives for giving. So I think everybody understands what that is. Hold open houses regularly. So I know open houses aren't a dime a dozen right now, but be particularly cognizant to ones that the opportunities to come up in your farm area. Be authentic and connect with people. Handwritten notes. What about when you do knock on the door and they take the time to have a conversation with you, sending them a thank you card in the mail? People are busy these days, so if somebody takes a few minutes to talk to you, that's worth a thank you card, right? Reinvest in the business. Moving truck, frequently used equipment. Now, mind you, that's going to be as your business grows and you get much bigger. We don't want you to spend money before you make money, right? So put down roots, own real estate in your farm. As you grow your business, have an investment property that's in your farm if you don't live there. And then build trust in your brand. So starting small, work to get bigger, but don't just door drop. Don't just go knock on the doors. Make people know who you are and create events around it. Have some fun with it. And I will tell you, he did tell a story about a gal who she wanted to lose weight. She wanted to get healthy. She hadn't been able to do it on her own. So what she decided to do was she created an invitation. She sent it to everyone in her farm and she started a walking group. So she said this day, this time, and they do it multiple days a week. And on a slow day, she has 10 people join her. On a busy day, she has up to 30 people join her, and they have a walking group. And because of what she has created in that community, everyone now goes to her for their real estate questions, advice, referrals. So she is building a strong business because she did something she wanted and needed to do for her own life and built it into her lead generation. Different way to think about things, right? What's really important, and you guys know this, but it bears repeating. He mentioned it yesterday. Consistency is a superpower. Very few people have it. Remember, it's time on task over time that's going to create the results. So don't do something just long enough to waste your time doing it. Okay, so we already talked about his second one, doing something you love and call it lead gen. If you like to play golf, go play golf 3 times a week, but make sure you play with different people every time and be super intentional about it. If you like to go shopping and be intentional with talking to a certain number of people on the shopping trip. Right? Whatever it is that you like to do, incorporate your business into it. Have goals around it. If you don't do something you love, this is one of his takeaways. If you don't do something you love, you'll burn out. And then best relationships are born from shared experiences. So that goes along to doing the things that we love, right? So adding your lead gen into something that you already enjoy doing. So this way you look forward to lead generation instead of it being a drudgery. Now, does that mean we still don't make our SOI calls? No, the SOI is never going away, guys. Okay. No matter what else we talk about, that's never going away because that has been proven time and time again for decades. That over 75% of our business comes from that. But even use your SOI for those invitations, those events that were talked about. Some of you mentioned, right? Get your lenders, get your home warranty company, get your partner vendors to help pay for these events. And remember, it's not always about the event. It's about all the touches before and after, right? Thank you for coming, or sorry, we missed you afterwards. Doesn't matter if anybody shows up. And people will start to show up. His fourth takeaway, I hate my business, therefore I hate my life. Which is something that was very common with a lot of agents that he talked about. And so at Mega Camp, they actually did a whole thing on happiness. And it was because of that takeaway. So there are 3 layers of happiness. The first one is, I'll be happy when right? So when I pay off my bills, when I get that new car, when I go on vacation, right? So I'll be happy when, but that's not being happy, right? That's being happy that's contingent upon something. The second layer is choose to be happy regardless of your circumstances. So remember the bold law, change the way you look at things and the things you look at change. I won't share what it is, but I recently had something happen that was very upsetting to me. And so I said I needed a day to have a little pity party and vent about it and like, okay, feel sorry for myself. But guess what? After that pity party, I changed the way I looked at it. And now I actually see it as a positive thing that's going to help propel me forward. And that's true because in the moment, it was not cool. But then I realized, wait a minute, maybe this is. And so a lot of times that's what happens. So we can't control our initial reaction to things, but we can absolutely control what we do moving forward. So choose to be happy regardless of your circumstances. Then the third layer is I'm happy with my life. So that would be like when somebody is on their deathbed, right? They say, I'm glad I did this or that, not I wish I had. So think about the things in your life now. What would you regret at that time if you didn't do? Create your own happiness. It's not dependent on our circumstances, right? Have you ever seen video or pictures or things of people in third world countries and they have very little? Their kids have rocks and sticks for toys, but they're happy. They are genuinely happy people. We have all the luxuries that we can imagine. And because the new iPhone comes out and we can't afford to get it, we're all bummed and upset about it. I mean, that's just a lame example, but you get the point, right?
Yes.
Choose to be happy. It's not dependent on our circumstances. That will help you in your business too. Okay. His fifth takeaway was, if you think a certain amount of money will make you happy, you're actually right. Well, I saw that. Okay. I saw head shaking. And to a degree, but that's not the point of the statement. Because we just talked about the third world country, right? Money doesn't make happiness. However, what we need to do is decide what that number is for us, right? Not that we want to have all the luxuries in the world, but what is the number that we need to make our lives not stressful? What do we need to make to pay our bills, to reach our goals and not have to stress on the day-to-day? That's what that statement was about. It wasn't about gaining riches and money's going to make us happy, because money does not buy happiness. So figure out, what is that number? Are you making that number? And if you're not, what are we going to do about it? Okay. And then his last takeaway was, there we go. His last takeaway was, making money is not creating wealth. So we can make a lot of money. People make money, they spend it as fast as they get it. They're not creating wealth. So to create wealth, we need to buy, and the agents or the people in general that are doing this, they are buying assets that go up in value and create cash flow. They're not just buying the newest gadget, right? So, one of the other points he made is the only time we as humans take action is when we feel it, not just hear it. We have to feel how it will help us. And that's the same thing with our clients too, right? So I really want you to think about those things, those 6 takeaways. Now there's many ways that we can lead gen, and there's many things we can talk about that. And I would love on a future mastermind for us to talk specifically about a few of the things that you guys brought up and how can we really plus that in a way that doesn't cost you a lot of money, but will help enhance your business. But so based on the conversations that were shared, we have a few minutes left, and the takeaways I just shared from Jason, I would like to hear your thoughts, your ahas, questions.
My biggest thing is that get out of debt, just make enough money to where you don't have to grind. I'm trying to finish strong with my age and getting to where I don't have to grind every day to make things happen and to have my life that I want to fish it. I mean, I'm doing pretty well, all things considered, but I still want to take my wife on more vacations and not have to just, really on a day-to-day basis, worry about getting grinded and not have debt or anything like that as well. So I would say, God, get out of debt.
Awesome. Well,
Yeah.
and keep in mind, guys, we have business planning coming up, and we're going to be talking a lot about that over the next few weeks in Mastermind. Some of the locations I'll be doing a business planning clinic. You'll see invitations to that. If it's not coming to your location, you'll be able to zoom in. Those are things that we need to talk highly about. So I want you to think about that. Think about that number, right, that you need. So what is that number you need for the life that you want? First of all, the life that you need, right? Just to get by, pay the bills, and then the life that you want. It's not talking about having insane amounts of money and getting rich. And if that's your goal, great. There's nothing wrong with that either. But what is that number? Because you need to know that number to create your business plan, right? And keep in mind, some of those numbers may not be accomplished in 1 year. It might take multiple years. That's okay. But what do we want to do this year to contribute to that so that by a certain time we are there, right? So we're going to be talking a lot about that over the next few weeks. Any ahas from the things that I shared from Jason?
I can share.
Okay.
So going back into what I already currently do that I'm happy doing naturally. I like the takeaway of that Jason shared where he said, hold on a second, I lost it. Oh, do something you love and call it lead generation, but do it purposefully, right? So like being more actively like using that time wisely, right? Not just like meeting new people and not connecting later on, right? So I think that's very important. Plays a big role, strong role.
Absolutely.
And do it with different people each time.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Meldrin, were you going to say something earlier?
Actually, it was the same one that Mariana just talked about.
Okay.
And just taking the stuff that you just naturally do and putting the purpose behind it.
Yeah. So I know there's at least one of you on here that does farming to a very high degree. Did the plan shared from this, did that help give you some additional ideas?
Yes. For me, it did.
Well, there's a golf course right in the middle of mine, and I've been trying to think about how to hook it into the farm because I want to get local people to golf with me. Because if I just invite some of my friends from high school or college, I mean, it's fun, but they all know exactly what I do already, so it would just be like a fun afternoon. But I was thinking about buying a nice bright Keller Williams shirt to wear when I'm out there golfing or at the driving range because it's smack in the middle of my farm.
Ross, if I could share, I actually had I attended I don't know if you guys are familiar with the VA rep Veterans Association of Real Estate Professionals. So it's like a chapter or something like on the board here in Orange County. And so they just did a like a golf tournament and it was all like sponsored and everything. So maybe that's something small.
That's
like
what I'm kind of thinking about, trying to get something like that.
But I got a chance to meet a whole bunch of professionals and that was a really good connection right there, so maybe even just asking, some of the affiliates that you know and that you're in business with, to help sponsor something small,
Yeah.
and then go around in your community and just invite your neighbors.
Yeah. Thank you.
That's an excellent idea. With a golf tournament, have it benefit a charity, right? So that your people have to pay to play. That's how you pay for the golf itself at the golf course, right? But then, like Mariana said, have other vendors, they can set up a booth there, have raffle prizes, have different things, and it doesn't have to cost you really anything other than your own golf fees.
Well, and I was thinking about kind of tying it in because there's a lot of private Christian schools around, and I know how expensive the athletics are when they're trying to compete. So maybe tie that in with maybe helping one of the local schools with their sporting events.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's another thing. I mean, the high schooler in that area with their golf club, their golf team, that's just, it's smaller, but it can get bigger, and they've all got families, etc. So your sphere of influence. So if you had something like that with your lenders that were willing to, pick up, but I mean, so you can still have them pay for their green fees and everything, but say a portion of it goes to the whatever high school in the area's golf team, and people come out, and then you get their data and things like that. So I'm on my baseball, I'm contacting the guy, and I'm going to go, it's going to benefit Make-A-Wish through the MLB, because they support the Make-A-Wish, or they have certain ones that they contribute to.
That's good. Yeah.
So if you got a local golf champion in the area or local golf shop, I mean, you can go bonkers on it, man. Bonkers.
And just make sure whatever the golf fees are, you're adding money on top of that.
Correct.
Pay for the ticket. That's how you make the money.
Because then nothing comes from it if it's just the golf fees.
Yeah, but you can do tee boxes. There's so much stuff you can do: tee boxes, raffles, all that stuff. And then that's another thing too, is going out to your local community and getting people to sponsor a bike from a bike shop, or it just blows up, man.
Okay, so this is a great conversation, guys, and we are past the hour, so we're gonna have to cut it off.
All right.
But I want you guys to really think about this, and let's spend the first 10 minutes of the next time plussing this a little bit, and then we'll go from there. I have 2 fast things because I gotta go too, and so if I can just have 1.5 more minutes. Number 1, next week I will not be able to host the mastermind. So you have 2 choices. I can try to find somebody to substitute, which either Lori, Brittany, maybe we can even ask Ross, or Emily to substitute. Or the reason I cannot is I am doing a 6 personal perspectives class in downtown LA from 9 to 1. We can cancel next week. And if you guys would like, you can join that class via Zoom.
What's the class?
6 personal perspectives, and we're doing it in its entirety, not just the quick snapshot that comes through Ignite. It's 9 to 1. The other thing is I want feedback, and you can email me, you can text or whatever. Would you all be more inclined to attend and participate in person or on Zoom to a daily kickstart that was once a week on Monday to start the week off right, and not every day, so you guys could do your own thing the other days of the week? Or do you like it every day? Think about that.
I have a lot to say about that. I'm sure you know. I mean, I feel like for the last 6 weeks, I'm on there by myself most of the time. And this morning, there were actually 6 on our call with Ross, which was great. But
Awesome.
the majority of time,
actually
it's
my biggest
1.
day in person and online.
Love it.
My first time
Here's what I'm going to
attending
ask you to do, because we're way past time. I'm going to ask you to email me if you have feedback. Okay. Because we are trying to always make things better. And so please email me if you have feedback on that. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a wonderful day.
Bye.
Thank you, Jodi.